Today, trillion-dollar financial architectures now dictate global AI supremacy, completely overshadowing the traditional chip design race in Silicon Valley. This graphic contrasts the retail market's focus on individual semiconductors with the strategic necessity of integrated, rack-scale systems. In this new environment, raw compute dictates the entire ecosystem. At the Milken Institute Global Conference, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, manager of nearly $14 trillion in assets, declared the birth of a new asset class built on the futures of compute. Fink argues that the market is defined by structural shortages in electrical power, in physical chips, and high-bandwidth memory that have outpaced every existing demand model. This scarcity transforms processing power from a cloud service into a raw, tradable commodity, carrying the same geopolitical weight as crude oil or natural gas. The CME Group is already working with platforms like the ORN Exchange to launch compute futures. They are pricing the standard compute unit, an hour of processing time, allowing firms to hedge against capacity shortages. To trade this digital reserve currency, superpowers are constructing financial pipelines designed to absorb capital on a sovereign scale. Wall Street is moving away from direct corporate spending, instead financing AI infrastructure through GPU-backed securities and private credit. This transition relies on the Special Purpose Vehicle, or SPV. Meta's $30 billion Hyperion data center in Louisiana is a prime example. Meta holds equity and lease obligations, while a distinct entity absorbs the $27 billion in private credit debt, keeping the liability off Meta's balance sheet. That $27 billion injection is the largest investment-grade corporate debt issuance in U.S. history, rearranging the risk profile for tech infrastructure. NVIDIA supports this structure as the demand insurer. Through a $6.3 billion take-or-pay backstop with infrastructure firms like CoreWeave, NVIDIA guarantees a baseline yield for lenders. This financial loop allows private credit to pour capital into GPU vaults, with vendors themselves guaranteeing the debt. Beijing is mobilizing its $28 trillion equity and bond markets to build a parallel architecture driven by the state. To bypass export controls, China uses fast-track preliminary review IPOs to inject hundreds of billions directly into domestic semiconductor and infrastructure firms. This capital mobilization created the Z.AI data center, a 1 gigawatt facility dedicated to AI training. It consumes enough electricity to power 750,000 homes. This facility runs purely on Chinese domestic chips like the Huawei Ascend. It demonstrates that state-directed capital can force a parallel technology stack into existence. Despite their different financial systems, both the US and China are building gigawatt-scale infrastructures that are approaching the same physical bottleneck. In this financial war, a compute futures contract, or a GPU-backed SPV, is merely a derivative. Both require a physical underlying asset to hold value. That asset is high-bandwidth memory, or HBM. Without it, the most advanced GPUs are reduced to idle silicon, unable to move data fast enough to perform. As AI workloads scale, the unit of computation shifts from individual servers to massive interconnected data center clusters. At this scale, memory dominates the costs. The memory share of the bill of materials expands to 70 to 85% of the total infrastructure value. SK Hynix operates as the undisputed monopoly at this layer. By controlling the supply of this required asset, they act as the central bank of the AI economy. Their dominance relies on proprietary MR-MUF stacking technology. This acts as a printing press, giving SK Hynix a yield advantage that allows them to produce memory with superior efficiency. This creates a hedge across both architectures. US hyperscalers require top-tier HBM to function, while less efficient Chinese architectures require even more total memory capacity to compensate for weaker processing power. Compute is the new reserve currency. NVIDIA builds the vaults, and Wall Street and Beijing run the exchanges. But SK Hynix is the central bank that prints the money.